Hey everybody, it's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and today I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. It's Tuesday, so you know what I'm talking about today. New Comic Book Day. So find out what exactly makes the list after this. For the first time ever, or for the first time in a long time, I think my pull list for the week is below $100, because I started cutting some stuff out. I was just buying stuff to buy stuff. There were some indies and some DC and Marvel where I was like, I don't really know if I need this. So there are a couple of titles that I think if I walk back into the shop on Monday or on Wednesday and I kind of thumb through them and they look okay, then maybe I'll add a couple of books to this. But who knows? Remember, this is only my pull list from one of my shops because I don't have a good way to keep track of what is coming out on the other ones. Mostly because I'm lazy. So here's what I'm pulling this week from my main LCS over at Chops Comics. Coming in first is from Vault Comics, the Autumnal #2. I haven't read the first one yet. My buddy Cole from Comic Burrito.
I'm Cole.
Hooked me up with a copy that I added this too late. I didn't get it ordered before FOC and I couldn't find it at any of the other shops around me. So he hooked me up. It's at the top of my to-read pile so I can be ready to dive into this title on Wednesday. Next up from DC, the closing arc of the Three Jokers is upon us. I've kind of enjoyed this series a lot more than I thought I would. I don't know why. I'm interested to see if there will be a spillover back into the main Batman canon, or if there is going to be, just this contained as an Elseworlds tale. But I thought it was a really good kind of play and exploration into how the Joker might have been able to pull some stuff off throughout the entirety of the Joker's existence. The next book on the list is Bliss #4 from Image Comics. I've enjoyed this title quite a lot, that it starts as kind of this what any father would do for his son kind of story, and it's kind of exploded into looking at the control of the drug that it has on people, looking at the impact of Lathe. I'm surprised that 4 issues is the end of the first arc, so I'm intrigued to see how long we have to wait until we get book 5 to begin the second one. It feels too short for me, and I want more, and I guess that speaks to how good the book is. Next on the list is Canto 2, The Hollow Men, book number 3 from IDW. This is a book that's just kind of on the verge for me, and I don't know if it's because I haven't read the original Canto. I read the one-shot that came out before this arc and was intrigued. I liked book number 1, but book number 2 it didn't have a lot of staying power with me. So we'll see what happens in book number 3 and see if that's enough to justify keeping it on the list for the long term. Still not caught up in Death Metal. Rise of the New God comes out, so we'll see. Next up from Image is Department of Truth #2. I really, really, really loved the first one. I can't wait to see what happens in book number 2. I kind of talked at length when this was my pick of the week as to why I really liked how the art creates a lot of truth distortions that really try to mess with our perceptions in the way that we're trying to figure out what is real. Do we actually know or understand what we assume to be true? Or is this kind of the art of unmasking us and the wool is no longer pulled over our eyes? So I like it a lot. I also like this Reagan cover. I'm also really intrigued to see what kind of variants exist for number 2 that I haven't opened up the second page, but I like the book a lot. There's a good chance that this makes it towards the top of the stack as one of the books that I read first this week. Next for Marvel is Doctor Doom #8. I love what Cantwell is doing on this title. This is the second part of the new arc where we learn that Doctor Doom kind of put everybody through this loyalty test when he took over the throne of Latveria, and we start to look at what's next. So here we see that the goal is him to attempt to annex more territory, acting in a very Vladimir Putin-esque way, but maybe it becomes more revealed that other people know that he has the ultimate nullifier, which makes him hands down the most powerful entity on Earth. Next from DC is The Flash number 764. I was lukewarm on 763. It was the first book by the new creative team, and maybe it's just me going, damn, this isn't Williamson. It felt a little hokey to me. In talking to other folks about the book, there were a lot of people who said they really enjoyed it, so my rule for a new creator on a title that I like is to give them at least 3 issues, so we will see how I feel about this one. Maybe I'll read 763 and 764 together and see if that does something to kind of change the taste that was left in my mouth. Next up from IDW is G.I. Joe number 9. This is kind of the new world presentation of G.I. Joe, and not like the continuing like Real American Hero that IDW has going on. I really like how each story kind of focuses on the big arc of how the Joes are attempting to take down the Cobra World Order. But I also like that it tends to invest more in teaching you more or introducing you more to, 1 or 2 featured characters in each book. I enjoy this, and I wonder if the tides are going to slowly start turning in the Joe's favor. Next up, we got back-to-back books from Vault. Next is Giga number 1. This is a book that's gotten a lot of hype, and it's something that I'm kind of excited about because it's a mech warrior book. I kind of like that stuff. I don't know why. I've never really fully been into all things mech, but it's interesting, and the premise seems cool that these Giga existed and fought a long war, and then they stopped. They became where people lived and kind of gods. And as I've said, I've not read a Vault title that has come out in a number 1 that I've not liked. That of all of the Vault ongoing titles right now, there's one that I'm lukewarm on, but I still like it. It's just not one of my favorites. So we'll see if this mech book really excites me in the way that I think it will. Coming up next is Heavy number 2. I'm pretty sure Heavy number 1, the week it came out, was my pick of the week, and part of that may be the fact that I'm a hack for Max Bemis, because I love Say Anything. And I still need to find things that Bemis has written outside of this, because I like Max Bemis. But the reveal at the end of Heavy number 1 is that his new partner is potentially the guy that killed him. So seeing what they have to be able to do together makes this seem like a really weird buddy Punisher book for me. So I'm excited to see what the relational dynamic between these two men look like in the afterlife, since all we know that Bill just really wants to get the hell out of purgatory so he can go to, either heaven or hell, wherever his wife is settled. Next up from Image is Philadelphia number 9. This series is just insanely good. I like what they have been doing both to introduce more into Abigail Adams as to how she may have been pulling some more of the strings in book 1. Also getting to see Jupiter go whole hog in book number 8 was crazy. So seeing that Jupiter may potentially be more threatening than any of the other vampires that existed in the first arc make me want to read this, and this is also shooting to the top of the stack as to being one of my likely first. Next from DC is Legion of Superheroes number 10. Again, I don't hear a lot of people talking about this book, that in looking at the rankings in terms of how it pops up, there aren't a lot of people on League of Comic Geeks who seem to like it, but I like what Bendis is doing here. That I feel like it's the opposite of what he's doing in Superman. I think it's played into some interesting elements of relatively unexplored history of the DC multiverse. So I really like kind of the conflict that's happening in the team that's been built, and I still want to know if we get to see the end of the damn training video. Back-to-back books from Image come up next on the pull list. We've got A Man Among Ye number 3. The only reason I'm reading this book is because Nat, who's at Gin and Something on Twitter and on YouTube, said this is good. I like Stephanie Phillips as a writer, and I don't know what made me initially want to take this book off from what they've done, but getting to see in the first two books kind of the dominant female pirate that exists on this ship, and then the British subject that they have kidnapped, who stayed a stowaway, is also a young woman who is kind of living behind the moniker of needing to pass as a man in the Navy, makes me wonder if we've got the next great ass-kicking female pirate in training as we work through the next book. Next, we've got Nailbiter Returns number 6. I'm getting my dose of Williamson this week. I am so excited to see what happens, because you just can't predict anything that has happened in this title, and it feels with the same kind of vigor that the original Nailbiter series did. I'm constantly re-guessing what's happening. I'm constantly shocked. And if this takes us back to something that existed pre the original Nailbiter universe to finally add some context to what's been happening in this book, I'm real excited. But I love this. There's a good chance that it makes my top list this week, and watch me say that and then forget I say it, and it ends up like my 7th, 8th, 10th best book. Next up from AWA is Old Haunts number 5. This is a book that I was collecting and then sat on and binge read 1 through 4 maybe about 10 days ago. This has been a really interesting kind of post-mafia tale, where you've got 3 guys who were good guys that are now kind of dealing with working their way out of the mafia, but also dealing with things constantly hanging over their head from the past. This has been a brilliant book that I don't feel like has lived up to been as hyped up as much as some of the other AWA Upshot titles, but this one's really, really good, and I'm kicking myself taking forever to read it. So I'm excited to see what happens in the definitive ending of this story in Book 5. Next up from Image is Sex Criminals number 69. The last book that we saw was number 30. Then, as you see here, they jumped 39 issues ahead to check in with what happens a few years down the line. I'm still behind in my reading of Sex Criminals, but I think I have pre-ordered 5 copies of a single cover of this book, and it is the photo variant of a naked Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. Why? Because that's the kind of shit that I like to buy. Part of me really wants to find the one in the best condition and send it to CGC, just to have them be like, yep, we gotta have Man-Dong hanging out on this slab. But I'm gonna get caught up in Sex Criminals. I'm probably sure that I'm gonna kind of like this as resolution, because I like what Fraction and Zdarsky have done independently. I like what they do when they are together. That Sex Criminals is a fun read, so I want to see what happens aside from naked man penis on the upcoming cover that I've ordered. Probably the most hyped book of the week is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin number 1. It is a new epic tale created by Eastman and Laird, the OG Turtle creators, and there are a lot of cool variants of this hopping up. You don't see a lot of IDW books that have a $10 price tag or a $9 price tag, but I'm thinking this book is about to be thick, and we don't have very many clues as to the identity of who the last Ronin may be, but we'll get there. I'm going to guess the first book may keep us guessing, or it may have some kind of reveal at the end, but I'm pretty excited for this book, even if I'm, someone who's relatively new into reading all things ninja. From Image, we've got Undiscovered Country number 9. I've really liked this weird, magical wall, post-apocalyptic, what the hell, time-jumping kind of thing is going on here. They are in the area of Unity now, and it is way different than the earlier area that they established, that it is almost like a technological utopia. So I want to see what happens next. That I have thoroughly enjoyed this book, that this has been one of the few titles that I've constantly gone back and reread, only to see if I can get little nuggets of information, little breadcrumbs that I may have missed from prior reads to figure out what's going on. From Boom, An Unkindness of Ravens, number 2. This was the book that somebody told me they thought I missed out on when the first book came out, so I had to order it from Midtown, and it's in my to-be-read pile right behind Autumnal, but 2 left. Next up from Boom is Wind, number 5. This has been a title that I've read in spurts. A lot of people like it, and I'm not going to say that I don't like it, but it just feels really slow. And I think Wind was one of the books that I heard was originally supposed to be released as a graphic novel, and then they decided to chop it up into individual issues. So maybe, I don't know how long the run is supposed to be, but it's been interesting, but it's been like watching the paint dry. The art is cool, the writing is intriguing from time to time, but it just to me doesn't seem like they're both firing at the same time. So we'll see what I feel about them. And then the last book, Ten of Swords, Stasis, number 1. I'm surprised that we're back to just one X-Men book this week, since we've got 2 or 3 chapters in the Ten of Swords saga throughout the week. So I've liked the event. I still have to read one more of the books from this week to be caught up and ready to go, but it's still paying off in dividends. I like it better than I thought I would, and I like it more than any other Marvel event that I've tried to dabble into to this date, even things outside of the X-Men universe. So I'm real excited there. So what do you think? Is there anything that's coming out this week that I missed? Anything that you think I should run away from? Anything that I kind of felt lukewarm on that you were like, yeah, you should just drop that? Let me know down in the comments below. Also remember, still on the road to 500. I think we're about 12 subscribers away from hitting that 500 subscriber giveaway. So maybe as I edit this, I might drop a little clue throughout to give you some solutions to some of the number and letter locks that show up on my website, so you can work on exiting the Poserverse and be eligible for a crap ton of pretty interesting prizes. So thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.